Hello, you guys. Let's talk about Chapter 8, Lesson 5, the slope-intercept form. Now, our goal is to graph linear equations using the slope-intercept form. I like to say using the shortcut when I do this, okay? And you'll see why. So, the big idea is you always want to write the equation where y is by itself. So, y is always going to equal a number times x plus another number. Now the number in front of the x is actually the slope of the line. And the number that's being added is the y-intercept, where the line crosses the y-axis. And all we really need to know is the y-intercept and the slope, and we can graph any line really, really quickly. So kids in algebra call this a shortcut. All right, and so this just says in algebra y equals mx plus b. M is the slope, and b is the y-intercept. Now, if I had an equation like y equals 2x plus 3, then I know 2, because it's the number in front of the x, is a slope, which I can write as a fraction, 2 over 1. And 3, since it's being added, is the y-intercept, which I want to write as a point so that I can graph it. So that's always 0, 3. So we always put the y value last. Okay, take a look at example 1, letter A. Identify the slope and the y-intercept. So we would write the equation y equals 2x minus 3 as, and remember, add a line, change the sign. So it's y equals 2x plus negative 3. We'll just look at the number in front of the x. That's our slope. So the slope is 2, or 2 over 1 is a fraction. And then look at the number that's being added. That's our y-intercept. So that would be written as 0, negative 3. Okay, now let's talk about example B. We need to write the equation 4x plus 3y equals 9 in slope-intercept form. That means we have to get the y by itself. So the first thing we do is we write the equation 4x plus 3y equals 9, but then we want to move this 4x over to the other side, and the only way to move it over is to subtract 4x from both sides of the equation. So that gives me 3y equals negative 4x plus 9. And then we want to get the y by itself, right? So we have to get rid of this 3. Well, you know, we could divide to get rid of this 3. But here's the only deal with this. You have to divide each term by 3. So then 3 divided by 3 cancels out, gives us the 1y by itself. We bring down the equal sign. Negative 4 over 3 is just a fraction, and that's fine. Negative 4/3 times x plus, and then 9 divided by 3 is just 3. So now we have y equals negative 4/3 x plus 3. And so we can see the slope. The slope is the number in front of the x, so slope is negative 4 over 3. And the y-intercept is a number that's being added. It's 3, so we would write it as a point, 0, 3. Okay, take a look at the checkpoint. They just want us to identify the slope and the y-intercept. So look at number 1. Y equals negative 3x minus 4. Well, the first thing, when I see a minus, you better add a line and change the sign. So we would write y equals negative 3x plus negative 4. And then I just use my colors. I use my red to identify the number in front of the x is negative 3. So that means my slope is negative 3, which I'm going to write as a fraction, negative 3 over 1. And then I look at what's being added. I see that negative 4, and that's my y-intercept. And so I'd write that as a point that I could graph, 0, negative 4. Okay, take a look at number 2. X minus 2y equals 10. Well, the first thing you should notice is y is not by itself. So we have to make sure y gets by itself. So I would write it, I would add a line, change the sign, so I get x plus negative 2y equals 10. And now I want to move the x over to the other side, so I have to subtract x on both sides of the equal sign. And that gives me negative 2y equals negative x plus 10. And now I have to get rid of the negative 2, so I'm going to divide everything by negative 2. So negative 2 divided by negative 2 just gives me my 1y. I bring down the equal sign. Now remember, in front of this x, remember there's that giant invisible 1 here. So negative 1 divided by negative 2, 2 negatives makes a positive 1/2. I bring down the x plus, and then 10 divided by negative 2 makes negative 5. So now that I have my equation y equals 1/2 x plus -5, I can identify the slope. The slope is always a number in front of the x, the 1/2, and then the number that's being added, the -5, is my y-intercept. So I write it like a point, 0, -5. Okay, take a look at example 2, graphing an equation in slope-intercept form. Now this is really cool, okay? So it's just 1, 2, 3. First thing we're going to do is we're going to graph the y-intercept. Second thing we're going to do is we're going to count out the slope. And the third thing we're going to do is draw a line. Okay, so look at the equation. Y equals -3/4 x plus 2. Well, notice that the number being added, that's always our y-intercept. So the y-intercept is 2, so we have to graph the point 0, 2. So start at the origin, and then 0 says don't go right or left. The 2 means get in the elevator and go up 2 and put your dot. Okay, that's our starting point. And now we just find the slope. The slope is always a number in front of the x. See how it's -3/4. So I'm going to write it as -3/4. Now you have to remember something about slope. This is slope, guys. So -3 shows us how much he rises, and 4 shows us how much he runs. So we start at the point 0, 2. And see -3, well, if it's negative, that doesn't mean he rises up, it means he drops down. So the -3 means go down 1, 2, 3, and the 4 means we're going to run forward 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we put a dot. And now we just keep going as many times as we can. So from this new point, I'm going to drop 3, 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to run forward 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I put another point. And once I have points, I just use my straight edge and I draw this line, okay? And so the answer, remember, is the line. Okay, go ahead and lightly cross out this page. But what I'd like you to do is I want you to write the slope-intercept form y equals mx plus b on this page. Okay, and go ahead and lightly cross out example 3, and then I want you to please write that you're going to cross out lesson 8.6 and 8.7. We don't cover that, but I want you to get ready to go to lesson 12.6 next.